Having a well-prepared garden and a healthy soil is the #1 element that is going to give you a successful gardening season. Yes? Yes, you're outside. Isn't that nice? So, today we are in February 22nd, and it is 60 degrees outside. We are in New Hampshire Zone 5, and this is very unusual for us. But it's on days like this that is the perfect time to go out there and prepare your garden if you haven't yet already prepared it in the fall season. Yes, if you can hear my toddler, I haven't been able to prepare my garden for this coming up season in the fall because obviously I had a toddler, and that can be very time consuming, and I wasn't able to get to my garden, my raised beds, and take all the weeds out and all that stuff. So we're going to be talking about things that you can do to prepare your garden for success this spring season before the planting time arrives. So these are some of the things you're going to do. Sorry if I'm squinting, the sun is right in my face, and I'll try to do my best to not squint at you. If you haven't yet taken your weeds out, you're going to need to take your weeds out. And on days like this, even though the soil is still frozen deep down, the top level of the soil is not frozen. So I'm able to actually come and start weeding some of these plants. You can see in this bed right here, there are lots of things that are still left out here. Some of these things I'll be able to till into the soil, like these turnips that I left over here from the past season. I wasn't able to harvest, and it was too late because they went to seed. So, but I did left a lot of the weeds out because the soil surface is not frozen. But if I try to poke my fork in here, well, then it will be. I will not be able to push it deep down, maybe about 2-3 inches maximum, because the bottom is still very frozen. But as you can see, I'm able to clean this bed and weed it to get it ready for spring. The second thing you want to do to prepare your garden after you have weeded it is to feed your soil. Really, what's going to give you the best success at gardening is having a healthy soil. If you don't have healthy soil, you are not going to have a good garden. Sure, you can feed your plants, but the soil is the livelihood of your garden. And if your soil is not good, your plants are going to struggle, and you're constantly going to have to feed them so that they can actually survive. So what I like to do is I like to put compost directly into my soil. What I mean by that is like composting in place. This is something that I've been doing for several years now, and I have found great success in doing so. I just take my kitchen scraps and I put them in here, and in the fall when I do have the time, I take grass clippings and I take the leaves from the tree that are fallen on the ground, and I collect them and I cover the beds with them. And throughout the winter, whatever I get from my kitchen, I throw into my garden directly over the soil. The birds may come, eat them. Some animals may come and eat them. That's okay. That's fine with me. And then what I do is I till the plants into this. I till those scraps into the soil as soon as the soil is workable, and I'm able to till it up and feed that soil. Now this involves a little bit of tilling, so I am slowly moving into a no-till garden, but I do like this method a lot because I find that it keeps the soil super healthy, because the worms in the soil get to feed on the decaying plant matter, and they feed the soil back through their worm castings. And this really gets the plants super healthy. Along with that, what I like to do is to put some compost also that maybe necessarily I haven't made, but from the store, because obviously I can't make enough compost for my garden. I'd need a huge amount of compost. So I would supplement that from store-bought compost whatever brand you want to use. And also maybe some manure, you could use that too. When we did have chickens, I used the chicken manure from our chickens, and I put that in, and that was very good also. But if you have chickens or goats, you want to let that manure sit for a little bit, or any type of animal really. You want to let that manure sit for a little bit before you can put it in, so that it can slightly decompose, so that it does not kill your plants, because it can be either highly acidic or super hot, and it really can literally cook your plants. So just wait on it a little bit, and maybe you can put it in the winter in your raised beds or in your garden, and then it slowly can decompose and feed your soil that way. And the third thing that I like to do is really, I like to do that in the winter when I have the time, but if I didn't get to it, I like to do it very early in the spring, before I plant anything in the soil, and that is to plan ahead and figure out where I want to plant things. So what I do is I draw a picture of my raised beds over here, just on a grid paper, and I try to decide what goes in each bed. And if I have planted something the previous season that took maybe a lot of nitrogen from the soil, I try to plant something in there that would replenish that nitrogen, maybe like beans, or peas, or peas, or anything like that. And if I planted something that if I planted beans, I could then replace that with maybe alliums like onions and garlic, or something like root vegetables like beets and potatoes and stuff like that. Also this allows me to figure out how many plants I can fit in my beds of each type, and what can I plant for each season. I like to divide my planting into 3 different seasons. I have the spring season, summer season, and fall season. And for each season I have different kind of plants that would tolerate the weather of that season. So that's for the 3rd step. Now once the soil is sort of workable, and now maybe I can start planting, I also want to set up structure before I even start planting, because since I have already made up my plans on where I want to plant what, now I can put up structure. If something needs trellising, I like to put it ahead of time. For this season I have purchased some cattle panel that I'm going to be implementing in this raised bed garden, because I want to be able to have more space for my plants. And vertical gardening is really going to expand your garden space by a lot. So that's something I'm trying to implement this year. Every year I try to add something new. I don't want to add everything all at once, because that can be, 1, very expensive, and 2, it can be a lot of work, and you might not be able to have the time to do it all at once unless you have a lot of help. Now I am deciding also where I want to put my vertical structures, so that 1, they do not block the sun for other plants, and 2, they would provide the structure for the plants that I'm planting or deciding to plant for all the seasons that I have. You can also decide on whether you want these vertical structures to be to stay where they are, or you can decide if you want to have them move from one place to the next in different seasons. So you got to decide on that first before you put them in, so that you can figure out how to install them into your garden. While the weather is still cold, and I have my soil prepared, if I have prepared it already also in the fall, that's even better. What I like to do is I like to cover my soil. I either cover it with cardboard or with a weed blocking fabric, and that is going to protect the soil from the elements and from erosion and all that sort of things. And also it is going to prevent weeds from growing in the spring as soon as the temperature warms up a little bit, because plants are still growing even in the winter. There are weeds that are evergreen weeds that just stay under that soil, or there are weeds that are super hardy that would immediately start growing as soon as the temperatures are kind of stable and not necessarily too much above freezing, maybe still in the 30s, and these weeds would start growing before you even have the chance to start planting your plants. So having something to block the soil is going to give you a kind of a what's the word? It's going to give you an advantage on the spring gardening season, and it's going to have your soil ready for planting when the time comes for it. Now in spring you can start planting as soon as the soil is workable, and you can start planting cold hardy plants like kale and cabbage and broccoli and all these plants. Okay, I was interrupted. I don't know what I was saying. I forgot what I was gonna say. Anyways, let's move on to, I know it was important. I don't remember what it was. Let's move on to the next point. Yes, there's one more point that I wanted to mention that I totally forgot about earlier. If you have been struggling with pests in your soil, there are two ways you can go about dealing with it. And one way I haven't tried yet, but I've been thinking about it, and I thought this makes sense, and I want to try to implement it this year in my garden. I haven't seen anyone do it, but I'm thinking that it is worth a shot, and I'll let you guys know how that went. So this first method that I want to try is to spray the soil with an organic pest control method, and that would be something like neem oil, or maybe something that an organic spray that I might spray my trees with to protect them from pests. I might put that into the soil directly, and so that if I was facing an infestation like maybe squash bugs or aphids or something like that, which has been happening to me in the past couple years, then maybe I could prevent that from happening. So this is something that I really want to try. Again, I haven't seen anyone do it or talk about it. This is just something that I'm thinking about. I haven't even tried it yet. So I'll let you know how that is going to go once I implement it and go through the season and see what happened. And the next method that I've heard a lot of gardeners talk about in the past is putting some nematodes in the soil, and those you want to spray on like a cloudy, sort of rainy day, so that they can go into the soil. And those are not the bad nematodes, but those are healthy nematodes that would go in and kill any bad bugs in your soil, and also provide good bacteria for your soil. So those are two methods that you can implement. Again, first one I haven't tried yet, just to kind of prepare your soil for the season before you even plant anything in your soil. And that's something I'm going to be doing very soon in my raised beds over here, because I have dealt with lots of aphids this past season, and also with squash bugs for 2 seasons in a row. What I mean by seasons is like a planting season, not spring, fall, or summer. It's just the whole planting season. So let me show you what I did over here, and let's talk about it. So in this raised bed over here, I have removed all the weeds from this bed first. As soon as the soil was slightly workable, we had another warm day the other day, and I was able to weed this bed. And then I covered the soil with cardboard, just like I told you guys. And then I brought some potting soil, because that was the only soil I was able to find, because everything is frozen right now. And I put 3 bags in here, and I was able to find some raised bed soil also. And I just got that, and I'm going to be putting that in here as well, and cover it up. And with that, I'm going to be adding some compost as soon as I'm able to find that, and manure. And I'm going to also be putting in some bone meal. That's going to help the soil a lot before I even start planting. and I'm gonna be doing this to the rest of the beds. Like today, I'm gonna be probably weeding a lot of the beds if I can, and also gonna be finishing this bed. If you guys are liking this content and if you find these videos helpful, please hit that like button and the subscribe if you are new to this channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can receive notifications of whenever I upload new videos. So I just wanted to mention also one more thing, and that is if you have an area that's full of grass and you want to create a new garden, you can actually do that right now. If, like in our area right now, the snow has melted because it just suddenly warmed up. It is very unusual for us, but take advantage of that and just put down some covering, like maybe some cardboard. And cardboard is actually going to be good because cardboard is made of carbon, and the grass is made of is full of nitrogen. So those two are going to react to each other, and it's super wet right now. So, but make sure to put something over that cardboard if you live in a windy area like us, for example, because that cardboard is just going to fly away. But the nitrogen and the carbon in the cardboard are going to react. The nitrogen in the grass and the carbon in the cardboard are going to react to each other, and they are going to start. The grass is going to start decomposing along with the cardboard as well, and it's going to prep that area for planting for you. If you can find soil, also you can just cover that area with some fresh soil directly over the cardboard, and put some bone meal in, put some manure in, and just have that area ready for planting for when spring comes and you are ready to plant. And this is going to get you ahead of the season if you haven't prepared an area for planting yet, and it's going to give you a head start. Instead of tilling that area, this is just going to be a super simple method, and it's actually going to be healthy for your plants and for your garden. It's going to minimize the weeds also, and just get a head start and start with that, and you're going to be super happy that you did, because you're going to have a successful season if you did that. Just make sure to feed the soil with, again, organic manure and compost and bone meal, and again, you're going to have a really successful gardening season. If you didn't, let me know, and if you did, let me know if you tried this method. So I will be leaving a link for a gardening playlist right here, and you guys can go ahead and check it out if you are interested in gardening. On this channel we do gardening from scratch, gluten-free cooking, and self-sufficiency videos, and I hope you guys stick around and just keep watching. So see you again next time, and thanks for watching. Bye.